Without further ado, coming to tonight's session on data-driven product management. Let me give an introduction to our distinguished and eminent speaker of tonight, Dr. Chiranjeev Roy. Dr. Chiranjeev is the Senior Vice President, Practice Head of Data Science and Analytics at SG Analytics. He has 19 plus years of experience in incubating, leading, and driving data analytics, science, and AI across Fortune 100 organizations such as Nissan Motors, Mercedes-Benz, HP Enterprises, and HSBC Data Analytics. He holds a PhD in Applied Data Sciences with research across Max Planck Institute of Informatics, Germany, and IIT Varanasi. He has held multiple industrial track and workshop chair positions, a member of the Analytics Society of India. Dr. Chiranjeev has been a key speaker in multiple national and international conferences, including Data Innovation Summit 2020, Cypher 2018, Data Hacks 2017, and was one of the top 10 data scientists in 2018. He also promotes and guides startups and incubation cells across the world. A very warm welcome to you, Dr. Chiranjeev. We are thrilled to have you here with us tonight. Handing the session over to you.
Thank you, Shama. Thank you, everyone, for joining this session and the brilliant work being done by Institute of Product Leadership. Let me go ahead and share my screen where we can start having a discussion. Over the last 3 decades, the transformation of developing products has really changed in leaps and bounds. And we'll discuss about where all the changes would have happened and how a new product manager should shape up and utilize data science in different stages of product development and management together. Yeah. So SG Analytics is which our organization is about 16 years old, which has been continuously in the field of data-driven development, has been catering to world-class products around the world for multiple clients. We are brilliant in research as well, and one of the studies that has been done was what you can see here, which talks about digital transformation. And the trends in 2021 are not different. Everybody wants to transform their business functions, optimize their cost, and increase revenue amidst whatever that we are seeing today from the perspective. But what is that they would need to strive, right? So we need to be digitally ready. Automation should be enabling innovation now, right? Because innovation cannot be done in silos. So a concept theory is now gone, and hence an entire automation kicks in. Security with IoT and so on and so forth. Now we are getting into production. We need to democratize the artificial intelligence, and that's how we have been seeing some products like Netflix, Amazon, and so on and so forth, where AI is not a theory in a great paper, and work from home is here to stay. So we cannot do anything. So where would it hit? It will hit us when we develop products through which we have been able to seamlessly do things in the digital way of development, because everybody can work from anywhere. That's the new normal. So what do we do in the new normal, and how do we do it, right? And how data science or data-driven products will evolve is a bigger question and a challenge for us today itself, right? Let's deep dive. Now, applying data science to data-driven product management is all about the data product life. And we'll talk about the product life. We all know about products shelf life, but even a data product also has a life from the perspective. So traditionally, the software as a service driven product market has been booming up much more than before during this in this last 2 years precisely. Hence, the products itself need to be much more intelligent. So the product managers or the owners need to improve the product usage, develop customer-centric designs and competitive offering and pricing. So the science would revolve around this entire data itself. So use data to develop data products and optimize them is a loop that we are talking about, which is not sequential, but is the cyclical order. Now, what is a data product? It actually is a combination of people, process, and technology. People, customers, dealers, vendors, end users, they have a problem. There is a potential problem, which is right now or in the next 6 months, right? It cannot be a long-term problem that you are going to solve. There are problems that needs to be solved now because there is always a component of money and revenue, which is also into the game, right? So the amount of discovery time that was required previously has shortened down because the need is now. Now, if there are problems being or defined as a topic being coming across, that calls for a process. So is the customer facing a business problem or a process problem or an engineering problem or a customer problem, right? From the perspective. That essentially defines what is the type of product that we are going to build. And people in the process actually defines the entire scheme of things in a product development. Technology is just an enabler. However, there are components of technology which helps either single-handedly or in silos, in parts, or in a combination. Like engineering rules, it can be in IoT, which we call it embedded engineering. Data analytics, either big data or small data, robotic process automations, machine learning, deep learning, computer vision, voice and speech-based models, right? Now, when we start all of these, we essentially look at design, production, delivery, customer experience, right, from the perspective. And that is where we start the game. Which stage do we need to evolve from? Do we start from just sourcing the data? Because there is no way that we have been sourcing the data, right? For example, a milk vendor, right, has been giving us data and giving us some pamphlets. We have been doing some signs, right? We just signature it out and we have been paying on cash. So there is no data which has been involved. It's the human brain which has been driving it. So the first thing is to create an app to start gathering the data. Once you start gathering the data, you start finding patterns of false or new discoveries, right? That is what we call analytics. Once you find the analytics, then you go into sciences, right? What should we do in order to stop things? Once you know where to stop and what to stop or what to improve, and it has been successfully implemented in a test condition with few customers, you actually create or transform it into a software, because that's the actual game, right? Where a software development team can embed your knowledge into a product. This either can be an enhancement into a product, right? Or it can be a brand new product. That's very important. So our algorithms in sciences transform into APIs through the UX and the UI game. That's the product journey. That is where we stand. Now, so every product manager now talks about data-driven product management, but what is the real explanation? So the real explanation is primarily design, define, develop, and optimize, and redesign. So that is where you can see the entire circle or a cycle happens. Now, what is design? We develop a design thinking methodology, how to design a data product. There is a specification. Of course, it is quite creative in nature, but creativity has a science embedded into it. There are frameworks through which you can design and do design thinking from the perspective, right? Then is the definition. We define it through our first approaches. And then once you create a value pipeline, you need to create that idea and utilize the data. When you put it into production, we process with a methodology or a functional methodology called data ops, right? We operationalize the data in the definition standard. Once we have done this, then we already know that this is the way that our methodology is going to work with the data. We develop it on the software development terms, which is the classic development in the last decade, which is called DevOps, right? And Scrum methodologies have evolved to developing this. Once we have developed it, now we optimize it with something called machine learning operation. And that is where the critical deep learning machine learning kicks in from the perspective. This combination optimizes your way of thinking, predictive analytics and prescriptive analytics, for example, from the perspective. So in whole, the product decisions are to be based on product managers, right? And that needs to be driven by not just instincts, but also customer feedbacks, competitive market intelligence, which all results to the analytics that we do. And you cannot take just one way to do it. The answer should be all of them. This is where a product manager needs to start thinking in when either you are creating a new data product or you are getting into enhancing a particular product with science. Now, these logos are very familiar to us, basically. We love them, right? That's why I try to put them over here. So are these data products? Not all. Let's talk about Medium. Medium is Medium a data product? No, not by the definition that we said, right, from the perspective. But it's a great publishing platform, right? So, but one of the major things is data plays a great role in determining what the reader wants to read. That will give information back to the Medium team. Gmail, is Gmail a product? Data product? No, it's an email service, right? Primary objective is to asynchronously do written communications between individuals and groups and so on and so on. Is it a pure play data product? No. Objective, is it objectively a data product? No. But the primary objective is to sort emails and then take it centered on using technologies like natural language processing. So Gmail uses at the back end or as a backbone technologies like natural language processing through machine learning operations to make it more personalized. One of the examples, just sorting emails, spam or no spam, right? Instagram, beautiful. Is it a data product? No, it connects people. It connects a lot of personalities, open personalities. But it has got tagging, search, discovery, which are actually functions of data analytics in a real time. Your likings and dislikings are all captured in Instagram. And the Instagram team optimizes or utilizes machine learning to optimize its way of providing information through search, tagging, or discovery. Now, finally, the Google Analytics. Yes, it's a data product. It says it's an analytics product, hence it's a data product, right, from the perspective. But here also, there is a lot of interaction which is driven, as like Medium, Gmail, or Instagram, right? So these four perspectives, though they are very different, work either in a front end, you have analytics as a service, or else uses analytics to enhance the experience of the customer. And that's the essence of machine learning is all about through the data products. Now there are varieties of data products. So where do each one of the products stand is all different. So we have the raw data. We start with the raw data. We collect them, making it available, right? The user can choose the data as appropriate. But most of the work is done at a user side. What is a derivation of the data? What is a derived data? So derived data is once the user provides the data, we process the data, right? And add additional attributes, right? And um, give them a service through the data being processed. For example, uh, you click on an ad, right, to buy a product. So we go back to a particular website or an e-commerce website. Why did your customer did not complete the shopping, right? Or did not click on the ad? Which kind of customers are actually liking your ad but not clicking on that ad, right? Those are the kind of derivations that we can derive from them. Now, next is algorithms as a service. Basically. Now, algorithms, right? For example, beautiful one, Google Image, right? If a lot of people would have not used it or may have used it, you upload a picture through Google Image, and it goes back and searches for similar product or what you want to search for. So behind the scenes, it actually searches for products, features, it classifies the image and looks at the millions and billions of stored images that they have and returns the ones most significantly matching the picture that you are given. That's the power of algorithm as a service. Right? But it also derives an experiential knowledge from perspective. So you are using machine learning. However, you are not actually has to go through the machine learning process. That is where algorithm as a service comes in. Decision support, very critical to most of the business corporate world from the perspective. Google Analytics, Flurry, and so on and so forth. There are multiple ones of them, but primarily dashboards, right? So what is going good, what is going not good, what are the things of improvement, what are the kind of decisions that we can make? That is the empowering part of data products. Now, finally, this is the decision support. Now, there are areas where automatic decision making is also happening. For example, biggest ones, Netflix and Spotify, right? But even though we know about Netflix and Spotify, the self-driving cars or automated drones, right? They also go through the same closed decision loop, whether you should tag something or classify, that we call in data science. Do we classify or tag something as good or bad? Um, as an example. So here the intelligence itself is also outsourced from the perspective. So those are the 5 different types of data products. Now then, once you have these 5 types of products, how do we consume it? We consume it through APIs, right? That's the biggest chunk of most of it, right? We convert our algorithms into application process interfaces, basically APIs, right? Which are in actually interfaces of product development. Visualizations for dashboards, we are assuming some good amount of literacy in terms of analysis and so on and so forth has to be done, right, from the perspective. But by choosing what the information to display, we actually influence decision making. But it still leaves interpretation and decision making on the hand of the user. So we are helping through visual means. And as you all know, human beings see, hear, and touch, right? These are the 3 major things we all rely upon. So until unless you can play around with decision science or data science, you would not find the vibe to do things, right? Just for an example, y is equal to mx plus c means nothing for all of us. Until unless it's shown into a tab or a product where you can work on. For example, you are calculating the EMI of your car that you're going to buy next. Which kind of product would you be going to buy? Amazon, you go there, you can find recommended products, right? So you are experiencing data science, That is where the success of data science lies in a data product. So if you have to develop a data product, there has to be engagement behavior with the user. Just by saying that I'm doing a prediction, that would not cut the ice going forward. Now then comes the web parts or web elements or web components, whatever that you want to call it from the perspective. So that is where the technical interface has continuously been evolving, and technologically we have evolved a lot in this case from the perspective, including voice, robotics, augmented reality. So those components have enhanced the power of machine learning algorithms, right? From the perspective, we in system designs on in automotives and manufacturing have the power to transform a physics-based development that we do to try to create maybe an airbag, right? In minutes and seconds, a machine learning algorithm can basically go ahead and create 6 to 7 different types of airbags by understanding how I create an airbag or what are the processes to create an airbag. And then the user can continuously modify from the perspective, right? Where a human being could have done about 3 to 4 prototypes in about 7 days, the number exponentially increases. And it gives us a lot of analytical choice and way to do things much more faster and easier and intelligent. Now these are called the data communicators of how do we consume. Now, where does it fit all? So this actually is a matrix that we can see, right? So it's a 5x3 matrix that always needs to be kept into mind of a product manager when we are starting with a new product or we are trying to enhancing a current product. Now, there are various elements in this journey where when you start either building a product or managing a product or enhancing a product, it has to be the business goals of the product management. That's the most important thing in terms of enhancements, right? Aligned to the product owner, the product manager, right? Then it's the balance between the user experience and the predictions that we are making, right? Because not everything can be experienced. So you need to do the balance between the experience and the science, right? Because science is much more approach driven, experience is more tangible, right? From the perspective. So a data scientist also should be a very good designer, right? Because he needs to design and portray what needs to be said. And as a design person, needs to embed science into his day-to-day, his or her day-to-day life from the perspective. Finally, technology has evolved so much that the technical delivery can be much more faster from the perspective, right? Though artificial intelligence took almost 5 to 6 decades to come to where it was first coined, now there is an extremely good movement in terms of various ways of development in infrastructure, in platform, in software, which is as a service and working as a managed service. So you do not need to develop everything from the scratch. You can start in maximum a day. Right. So artificial intelligence has penetrated in multiple fields, right? We all know it very well, digitally and globally, right? From the perspective. So, but where do we see most of the traction? Of course, information technology, because it gives areas. But driving and mobility, research and development, manufacturing operations, procurement are the one of the big major areas. Though the customer or driver experience, marketing, retail has been still there. Supply chain has always been evolving with AI, so it will still pick up, right, from the perspective. So wherever AI has not been implemented, there is a lot of scope of implementation over there in that perspective, and that is where the product development kicks in, right, from the perspective. So where there is a need, right, where there is a demand, there should be more supply from the perspective. Now, this is just a very basic demonstration of a data strategy to a data pipeline to an application development, right? From the perspective, we need to understand everything in terms of acquisition strategy, how the data is coming in, where the data would fall in, which kind of technologies we need to be adapted to, and which kind of analytics you would be working on blended with the technology to give you the product of your choice. And um, in this nature, there are multiple choices which user has to. That should be kept in mind whenever there is a new strategy for a product that needs to be deployed. It can be one of the components or multiple of these components that needs to be flowing in. Interestingly, the concept is majorly defined by majorly three different personas of people: the designer, the data engineer, data scientist, right? The data engineer understands how the data would be sourced, what kind of data would be sourced. Data scientist and the designer in the first place needs to sit down with the product owner, right, on what is the problem statement that we are trying to drive. How do we want to drive the problem statement? And then bring in data engineer who would be able to create the basic infrastructure and the pipeline to start the work. Once this is done, and this is the most critical part of the path, right, where with a data scientist there can be a machine learning engineer who would come in to expedite if the problem is comparatively much more bigger from the perspective. So if you look at this, the concept cannot be done by a single person to start off. So with a concept, I mean, it can be a new product, or it can be enhancement of a particular product which has been pre-built, right? So that's extremely important of that nature, right? So the designer needs to understand how a data scientist thinks. The data scientist also needs to spend time in order to understand how the designer wants to function. At the end, it has to be the balance between the experience and the science, both of them. Now, once this is done and you have a good concept, the testing has been done, then it comes to creating and launching it into a production level from the perspective, which I am not considering the marketing and the other functions which will kick in during the end of the concept, right? Where you have to decide about the pricing, you have to decide about how would you market it, what is your potential segment, and so on and so forth. There also science plays a very, very vital role from the perspective, right? There are methodologies, right, in that stream which actually takes care in that game, because everything gives you data. You would be able to know the demographics of where would you be able to sell, right? Would you be selling it in a tier 1 city or a tier 2 city or a tier 3 city? What kind of customers would you bring in? Millennials, right? um, would you tap in millennials, right? Or would you go for everyone, right? And so on and so forth. Now, once the concept is solved, the data scientist hands it over to a machine learning engineer, and data scientist guides the machine learning engineer who would actually transform along with the data engineer and make the software development team understand and drive. So hence the knowledge of a machine learning engineer with respect to data science versus actual production software development, right, which we call as MLOps, right? The MLOps becomes more primary from the perspective, because when you develop things in a software development life cycle, right, you need to be very, very explicit, where you cannot have scope to go back or stop things in between. It cannot be taken as a research. However, the entire formulation of a software development life cycle, or the theory or the functional theory, cannot be applied on a whole here, because a lot of unknowns might come in between this journey itself of data-driven development. Now, then it's the MERN or the mean stack. Basically, these are more popular ones in the software development world. And then how would you consume it? Whether you will consume it, throw it in the market as a web platform or a pure mobile or a hybrid, as an API or a microservice. It all depends upon how do you want to do. But the roadmap needs to be created at the conceptual end. Otherwise, it will be very difficult for anybody to come up. What you see on the right hand side is basically a DevOps um, tool-based cadence, right? How do we do it, right? You build code, test, release, deploy, operationalize, and continuously monitor. This is called CI/CD, basically, right? Continuous integration and continuous deployment. What we all also take care is continuously learning with the machine, right? From the perspective, which is taken care by the machine. So you continuously monitor the performance of your algorithms. And if an algorithm is not able to perform as per the test fit criteria or the accuracy, as we say, if the amount of error crosses a particular threshold, we need to bring down that machine learning algorithm, which is actually running as an API, right? Now, what are the essentials of a data product manager, right? Three key things are very important. You need to bridge data science interaction with business stakeholders, right? That's extremely important because a data scientist might be very technical, but you need to fully tap into the business stakeholder, right? Who has got a customer problem, he needs to launch the product, he needs to have a feature and delivery challenges, even monetary and so on and so forth, right? So the data product manager has to wear the shoes of the business stakeholder, but the shoestrings should be of technology also. That is where the dealing with data science complexity comes into picture. As like traditional software, this software development lifecycle cannot work, right, from the perspective, because it needs to be continuously retrained. And that is where the challenge of data science products comes into picture, because you do not get a desired performance as and when you start. You evolve with a period of time. It is like a baby. You have to give it the time, more data will pump in, you'll find patterns, you'll keep on evolving it, right? So a data science product is always evolutionary, and the evaluation matrices that you will develop with the data scientist also needs to evolve. So hence there has to be a very seamless integration between the product manager and the data scientist, right, from the perspective. And once you develop 2 to 3 products, right, whether you pass or fail, it doesn't matter. It's always an experiment, right? You would get those learnings that you would go ahead and present, basically, right? Both the data product manager and the data scientist should be able to demonstrate the decisions to the business on the other teams without any question. That's the bottom line when dealing with the data science complexity, because it's very difficult to convert the data science language into a software product. Finally, it's the balance with the data science product development and the complexity, which is agile, right? So to accomplish the faster delivery, you need to make a lot of assumptions, need to throw out a lot of algorithms that you would be building because of the timelines. You would have not built it, right? Given, let's say, 1 year span of time, the algorithm would have been going into 95% accuracy, but you have to start from 80% because of the tight schedule that you're driving in. So one thing that needs to be remembered in this entire game is the data science is a science. It's very open-ended, exploratory, and experimental. And experiments are the future to success, but there will be failures. which will come into picture. If you don't do experiments, neither you will taste the honey of success, neither you will have the coal of failure. That's it, to understand by a data product manager. Because a data product manager understands the technology and the business problem together. That was my summary of my entire discussion. I would give a lot of time to your questions, which I can answer what you would have. But overall, it's a game of patience that you need to play. There is a huge demand. There is a lot of hype which is involved. But once you start this journey, this is going to be very exciting for you. And I'm sure some of you have already started it. So wish you a great product journey with data science. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Chiranjeev, for that amazing, brilliant session. Really great and thought-provoking insights. And we already have a few questions lined up for you. So let's begin with the Q&A. Just give me a moment to share my screen.
Please.
Audience, please go ahead and ask your questions in the Zoom Q&A window or in the comment section for the LinkedIn viewers. And alternatively, if you want to come live and ask your questions directly to Dr. Chiranjeev, please raise your hand and I can unmute you and you can have a live discussion with him. So let's take the first question here, Doctor. So this is from Nazia. What is the use of data when product managers can analyze customer psychology perfectly?
Thank you, Nazia, for the question. As I said, Nazia, nothing is written in stone in data science. Data science is about experiments. The more experiments that you do, the more successes and failures that you will overcome, and that will create your process for the next product that you will be building. There is no one single way of development. For example, in software development, we have a process called software development lifecycle. In data science or a data product development, we do not have a clear-cut approach, right, from the perspective. Also, organizations like Institute of Product Leadership have a lot of leadership and understanding to make people understand, right, on what are the pitfalls you should not go generally from the perspective. However, the road is full of potholes. You have to get in there. There is no alternative. I hope I have been able to answer your question.
Absolutely, agreed with you, Dr. Chiranjeev. And Nazia, I hope that answers your question. And please post your comments in the chat window so you can share your thoughts too. Now we have Deepak who has raised his hand here. Deepak, go ahead and ask your question.
My question revolves around the product manager role. To what extent should a product manager know the machine learning and AI algorithms? And if a person is truly interested to make it big in data product management space, what is the secret sauce for that? What he should be extremely good at? Thank you.
Brilliant question, Deepak. Thank you for this question, sir. According to me, over the past lot of product successes and failures that I have in my career of last 20 years of learning, I would say, and I'm still learning. I would say a data product manager needs to be focused on the product first. The data product manager also needs to have the knack of learning science, because please do understand, behind data science, it is the science which matters. Science is developed by algorithms. If you look at the people who have actually coded or created the products in the first wireframe itself, have not been the successful CEOs, right? People coming from physics background, right? Traditional sciences, right? Where the actual brains behind one of the most successful things in the world that we are using today from the perspective. Now, Does it require you to have a qualification in data science? No. Does it require you to have a knack in learning data science, which is the fundamentals of algorithm, right? And how an algorithm operates? Yes, because you need to manage and develop products along with a data scientist. Yes. And this is a statement that I'm making where this would apply to almost 80% of the products. 20% is still a lot of complexity from the perspective, from the nature. But your knack of learning ability, right, will keep on helping you to bridge the connect between yourself and the data scientist.
Okay.
Even though there are too many jargons, you should be able to understand how a data science or a data scientist or a machine learning engineer operates.
So does that mean when you say knack of learning data science, does that mean that he should know how the algorithm works? What is the maths behind that algorithm? Mathematical concepts behind that algorithm? Does he need to know to that level? Does he need to know Python, how to program it?
I started developing algorithms on Excel. Then SAS came, did a SAS certification. Then C came because I went into manufacturing. And now it is Python. First of all, as I said, technology is an enabler. It doesn't matter which programming language that you code into. The logic is very important. And data science is only about two things: logic and probability, and linear algebra, two equations, right? That need not take you to going deeper into maths. And believe me, Deepak, and I'm sure my fellow data scientists will also agree to, from the perspective, the decision, the way a data scientist uses mathematics, or in the data science practitioner world, in a practical data science, right? Not in research world. It's only about 1% of the linear algebra that we actually use. And it's not very difficult. So first of all, you do not need to go deeper into mathematics, right? Which is basically driven by a data scientist and a machine learning engineer, primary data scientist, not even a machine learning engineer, right? But you need to know the fundamentals comparatively well. And it's all about the logic from the perspective. Please do understand, the entire piece is only about two things: either a classification or a regression, right? Either it's a choice, yes or no, or it is a direct value or a degree, a percentage. That's a regression. That's it. Now you can go deeper and deeper. There are hundreds of algorithms under classification and regression itself. But fundamentally, these are the two basic things to start off with. That needs to be known. And we don't generally, when we do in practical products, right, we don't use more than 20 to 25 algorithms. The logic needs to be known. How it is programmed, you do not need to take care of it, because if you know the logic, you will be able to understand how the data came in and what was the result. That is important.
Thank you, Deepak, for that brilliant question. And we have a ton of questions lined up for you, so we'll move on to that.
Thank you, Deepak.
Shama, another quick question.
Deepak, I really request to wait till the end of the session because we have plenty of questions that we need to answer. And
sure.
Yeah, thank you for understanding, Deepak. The next question, Dr. Chiranjeev, is from Rakesh. Any example of how data can help a product manager visualize the life stage of their product? How can data-driven applications help in taking right product decision or change product strategy?
Very brilliantly thought through question. As I said, data and the science behind the data helps in design, discovery, development, and optimization, or optimizing a product from the perspective. There are specific ways that you can create designs. For example, from manufacturing area, I would say that we create MATLAB level designs. As I just said, right? You can create multiple designs in just one format from the perspective. Through that, because that's a process area, if you give one form of a design to a machine learning algorithm, it can create multiple patterns. We call it generative neural networks. It can generate new ways of designs. That is one. Development. There are different ways of developing, right? There are a lot of AI products into this game where you can go ahead. You do not even have to code, right? There are no code platforms which have come up, right, into the perspective, which understands what you exactly want to do. For example, the GPT-3 and the GPT-4, right, which has come into picture. So you type that you want to do this coding, right? This is your objective, right? And this is what you want to do. You click on a submit button, you actually get the entire code. Of course, you need to understand how the code is made, right, in different programming language. So this is the development part. You can practically enjoy the development. How would you sell or deploy, right? In marketing, there is an entire theory of marketing analytics through which you can find the customer, find the market segment, everything, right? Then you track the product through the data and you find anomalies. So there are anomaly detection algorithms which can actually tell you whether your algorithm is working or there is a failure in the product which is happening. So in the entire game, and then you can create your optimizing frameworks through your data strategy, whether you want to keep some amount of data, you would not like to keep some amount of data, you would like to tune your algorithms because there is a new data which has come in. So all of these you can do in time to time. So there are different forms of analytics available at every stage of the game.
Hope that answers your question, Rakesh. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section. This next question is from Swaroop from LinkedIn. Can we even think of adopting data strategies to an archaic legacy product where formulating the necessary data for data science is usually only in the form of reports with no APIs available to be tagged to a machine learning process?
There are multiple methodologies. Again, as in once you are defining and designing, right? You need to actually tackle that problem, right? Is it going to be a semi-automated insight, right? Which we call it as a report. So report can be of multiple types. What are you generating from a report? Are you just generating some numbers? Then it makes no sense. If you're generating insights, that's important for a business person. It has to be automated, right? There has to be automatic insights, right? For example, in our SG analytics, for multiple global clients, we develop automated insights, right? In a real time, right? So we use combination of the data, and the data, there are algorithms which predicts a particular type of a situation and tells you in an English language that this is the problem that you're facing. These are the recommendations, basically. So there are various methodologies which are available in order to do that. It needs to be defined with the data scientist. How do you want to do? But there are semi-automated, automated, and fully automated insights which are there. The most popular one is semi-automated because there is a human and machine interaction which is there, which means before putting it across to the user, if there is a nuance, for example, this should generally never should be done, but by looking at your symptoms, I would be able to predict your health symptoms. I would be able to predict or recommend you the nearest doctor or the nearest hospital. But if I have to recommend a prescription, then that becomes a very decisive case from the perspective. Okay. So there are different types of insights that needs to be developed, but a generic report will not make a sense. Now, there are so in the next generation of developments which are coming in through, right? We developed insights as a service, which is the next level of automation we are looking forward to in data analytics, right? I'm sure there would be multiple organizations, and we also do it, right? There would be organizations and product organizations which will be looking at developing automated insights or semi-automated insights, which will influence decisions, not just pure reports and dashboards. I hope I've been able to answer your question.
The next question is, what are the best softwares to analyze a large amount of data and conclude, like Power BI? Would you recommend any?
Most of the softwares rely generally on the same lines, depending upon whether you want to create a process, want to use a process-driven tool, right? For example, Alteryx previously in research organizations we use IBM SPSS, right? These are all tools or softwares which can scale from small to larger data, right, with the connection, and does not require you to code. But when we actually deploy it, we use Python, PySpark, right, and big data, which is PySpark is primarily big data, right, from the perspective, and Databricks, right, for a general bigger level work. So it all depends upon what kind of platform would you like to use, a no code or code driven, right?
Right. So this next question is from Mittal. Firstly, he thanks you for a great presentation and great insights.
Thank
So
you.
his question is, what would you suggest as data analytics strategy to a large retail enterprise that has 80% of revenue coming from brick and mortar stores and only 5% coming from mobile apps? How do we as product managers propose a data strategy to transform the mindset of senior leadership team? Without revenue, large enterprises don't consider apps as an important channel.
Very correct. Thank you, Mittal, for your question. As I said, one of the things that we always try to think in technology is, let's build the entire product. What you should always do is start small, take up a sample problem. Of course, brick and mortar has multiple forms of problems and we solve it, right, from the perspective. For example, let's say I am working in a dealer store, right, and it's a dealership network, right, from the perspective. An app will not even make a sense, right, from the perspective. We are looking at quality, right? Where would you put a particular product, right, from the perspective? And in this scenario, if you start taking every dealer and you create a data strategy which involves hundreds of dealers, and every dealer has got 10 to 15 stores, right? The strategy will never work because you never know whether the same strategy will apply to everybody. So what you first need to do is create the app on your own and show it at a smaller scale. Take a micro sample and start it. Maybe take one dealer and it's 5 different stores to start. Converge it, create the proof of concept that we talk about, right? And then move to the next stage from the perspective, right? Everybody would like to go ahead and do it in its own way from the perspective. That's important. Once you show the value and people touch and feel, wow, this is great, right? So I can do machine learning. And whenever you develop an application, it should be engaging. That's important. For example, we play with the EMI calculators and everybody would love to play with science. That's very important. And that is where science becomes interesting. So whenever you are designing a data science product, try to focus on the experience. That's what is more important, rather than the approach and the extreme scientific game that is involved. Once they start playing with data science, even if it is a mobile app, a small scale, right? And you don't have to invest more than few weeks in doing this, right? The leadership will start changing the mindset. The best way to change a senior leadership mindset is to give them what they can touch and feel. That is the wow moment for them. Just by creating PPTs don't solve the problem. I hope I've been able to answer your question. Thank you.
Thank you, Mittal, for that question. And in view of time constraints, we'll take this one last question, Doctor. And I hope that's okay with you.
Sure.
So this question is a little elaborate one, but I'll ask in two folds. This is from Venkat. How ethical or unethical the organizations are in terms of collecting data, text, voice, images, videos, and ensure that end users' data is protected and end users' privacy is respected. The second part of this question is, what do you think that we need to ensure so that data products such as apps, websites are ethical and respects end user privacy? How do we put limitations and restrictions as product managers?
Pardon me for this question. I also do not know the entire answer for this, because this has been ethical efficacies of artificial intelligence is still evolving. However, please do understand that there are lot of algorithms and approaches which can help artificial intelligence to become ethical. For example, you are putting a facial recognition algorithm. According to the frameworks of deep learning, you do not need to store the actual picture. You can actually store the picture as an array of numbers, which is an encoded version itself. That gets stored, and because machines require digits, right? That is where the efficiency and efficacy will come into picture. In terms of the new products being coming in, of course, there is data privacy norms which are coming into standards, and when you're developing data products, that needs to be adhered. But again, science has the answer to all questions. You need to deep dive. If there are privacy concerns in your product where you are establishing or taking data, you need to adhere to the PIIs and the PIDs, which is personally identifiable information. But there are a lot of algorithms through which you can actually go ahead and mask them, embed them. You can do a lot of things with that, right? From the perspective, you do not need to take their actual data and save it, which will impact. But yes, as ethical artificial intelligence is bringing up questions, we as human beings also do realize that AI can provide us a lot of information which we require immediately. And it has got a lot of benefits, and the elements are quite vast from the perspective. It is an evolving area. It needs to be dealt by use case, product by product. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for that. And in view of the time constraints, we will have to end the Q&A here. Audience, thank you so much for the participation and engagement. For any further questions, please scan the QR code on the screen for a 30-minute exclusive session with industry practitioners like Dr. Chiranjeev, who are there to clear your doubts on transitioning to a product manager role and help you get there.
Fantastic. Thank you so much to the Institute. Thank you for the patience that all of you have shown to come to the discussion. And I hope that every one of you would become successful product managers and learn and live this data science life. That would be important. Thank you.
We've enjoyed having you with us, Dr. Chiranjeev, and it's been a complete pleasure. Please accept this certificate of appreciation from the Institute, a small token. If you scan the QR code on the screen, it'll take you to a dedicated Hall of Fame page that we have created for you, which holds a recording of the session. Just give it a little more time for us to upload it, and we'll share the certificate with you.
Thank you so much.
Please share it within your network, and we'll do the same. We'll be sharing the recording on the YouTube channel. Dr. Chiranjeev, we are grateful for the time and effort you took to share your thoughts and amazing insights drawn from your research and experience in the industry. And I'm certain that our audience will definitely benefit from the methods you suggested and get ahead in their career. Thank you so much once again for joining us.
Thank you so much, everyone. Best of luck.
And audience, yes, I haven't forgotten. I will get in touch with you with the champion of curiosity who will be winning the free digital course from the Institute, and I will reach out to them directly. Thank you for joining in, audience. It was great interacting with you all. Do not forget to register for the upcoming webinar on 22nd of July. And I'll see you guys at 8 p.m. then. With that note, I end tonight's session. Happy learning and stay skilled. Have a great night.
Good night, everyone.